Hello, everyone. My name is Aiden Sahiran. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Naluri. Over the past few years, I've worked with clients across different industries to help them promote and implement mental health policies and interventions at the workplace to both support and empower employees. Today, however, I wanted to talk about a concept that is rarely spoken about and its link to mental health, a concept called toxic masculinity. Good mental health is incredibly important. There's a strong relationship between your mental health and physical health. With good mental health, you are more likely to perform better at work and build and maintain strong interpersonal relationships. Many of you are here watching this precisely because you value your own mental health and that of your loved ones. Something to bear in mind, though, is that everyone has a different experience when it comes to mental health, and this experience can be markedly different between men and women. First, a personal story about how toxic masculinity, that is, the societal expectation that men should adhere to traditional gender roles, can be so detrimental to both men and women. The story I want to tell you took place on the day of summer ball at my university in the UK, the final social event of the year before everyone returned home for the summer break. Summer ball is a formal event, but no less a celebration that marks a collective relief among students, that somehow we passed our exams and summer holidays were about to begin. That day, like my friends, I got ready, miserably failed to tie my bow tie, and was adulting, it felt like, for the very first time. Now, to give you some context, summer ball is a day where emotions tend to run high. Since we all part ways after this event, some people for the last time as they graduate and begin their professional careers, you would see tears shed as people promise to stay in touch over the break. That particular evening, as the festivities escalated and the music got louder, young, introverted me got a little overwhelmed by the noise and stepped outside to go find solace in a quiet walk outside. After walking for a couple of minutes, I found my housemate, Sagar, sitting alone on a bench. He looked very deep in his thoughts. So I sat down next to him and started to reflect on the academic year and the ups and downs of being a student. We spoke about what we were going to do over the summer break and how things would be so different as we started our final year at university after the break. Sagar looked at me and, like many others that evening, started tearing up and said to me what about 50 other people said to me that night: "I'm really going to miss you." At the time, I didn't think much of it. I told him I would miss him too and return to the celebrations. That was the last time I saw Sagar. Only a few months later, on October 16th, 2014, Dr. Sangeeta Naresh, Sagar's mother, came home from work to find a letter on her staircase. It read, "I love you, Mum, but I can't take this anymore. I'm sorry." This being his recently diagnosed depression. She frantically tried to contact him to no avail and very quickly called the police. Half an hour later, the transport police knocked on her door and said they found someone matching Sagar's description. They handed her his keys, his wallet, and described his clothes, and she knew immediately that her worst nightmare had become a reality. That day, she learned that her son took his own life to end his internal battle with his mental health. Earlier that morning, Sagar had turned up at the train station's platform and paced back and forth for hours. CCTV footage showed hundreds, if not thousands of people passing by him. Yet, nobody asked this visibly distraught young man if he was okay. To this day, I replay that conversation I had with Sagar on the bench at summer ball, and I still ask myself the same question over and over again. Should I have known? Following Sagar's death, his mother, a practicing NHS doctor in London, has become a strong advocate for mental health and suicide prevention in the UK. For 1,000 days following Sagar's death, she wrote extensively on her blog about the journey of her pain and the issues the world has with identifying and treating mental illness, especially with men. Although in the grand scheme of things, this happened not that long ago, but a lot has changed since then. What I'm happy about is that mental health is being discussed more and more openly. Governments, schools, and employers are taking this issue more seriously. More studies are being conducted and more funding is being put in place by governments to provide mental health support to individuals. All of this is a step in the right direction, but there's still so much more we can do. But here's my message. There's something we can do that you can do today to help. Now, while mental health issues can affect anyone, there is a drastic difference between how it affects men and women, and specifically when it comes to seeking for help. While mental health issues are being reported on quite widely now by the media, what the media doesn't usually report is the differences in how this affects men and women. In the US, just as an example, there were a staggering 10,000 suicides of females in the year 2017. That is 10,000 too many. But what many people don't realize is that there were more than 3.5 times that number of male suicides during that time. Similarly, the WHO compiled the causes of deaths. In the US, for example, in 2012, 2.3% of deaths were caused by mental and behavioral disorders. While that is a surprisingly high number, the number for males is over twice that, at 5%. Around the world, 2% of countries have a suicide rate of above 15 suicides per 100,000 females. 2% of all countries. For males, it is 20 times that number. 40% of all countries have a suicide rate of over 15 per 100,000 males. Why is that? Part of the reason is that when a man has an attempt at suicide, it is usually more violent. However, what I wanted to focus specifically on is the other part, the role that toxic masculinity plays and the negative aspects of exaggerated masculine traits. What's interesting is that this is mostly learned societal behavior. In 1999, Harvard Medical School and Boston Children's Hospital found that 6-month-old boys were actually more socially oriented than girls and were more emotive. As boys grow up, however, this changes. They're told to suck it up, be strong, stop crying like a girl, and to man up, equating emotional expression with femininity and weakness, and that is why it's devastatingly toxic. Not only do boys grow up experiencing greater depressive symptoms, they also tend to perpetuate violence, crime, and dominance over others in a society that perpetuates toxic, hypermasculine ideals. Appearing weak is to be avoided at all costs, forcing men to suffer in silence, even when help is available. Toxic masculinity glorifies unhealthy habits. The premise is that self-care is for women, and men should treat their bodies like machines, foregoing sleep, working out despite injuries, and always pushing through to their physical limits. A 2011 study found that men who held the strongest beliefs about masculinity were only half as likely to get preventive healthcare than those who held moderate beliefs about masculinity. Seeing a doctor for a checkup, for example, runs contrary to some beliefs about what it means to be tough, apparently. When it comes to mental health, however, toxic masculinity is even more detrimental. When depression, anxiety, substance abuse issues, and mental health problems are seen as a weakness, men are less likely to get help. A 2015 study found that men who bought into traditional notions of masculinity held more of a negative attitude about seeking mental health services compared to those with more flexible attitudes towards masculinity. Toxic masculinity stresses that it's inappropriate for men to talk about their feelings, in turn increasing feelings of isolation and loneliness, and reducing one's willingness to seek help, even when in crisis. So how do we encourage healthy rather than unhealthy masculine traits in boys and in other men? Well, first, it's important to speak out and ensure that the toxicity does not spread. The next time someone says man up, don't look the other way. Secondly, we have to take an active role in shaping the mindset of the future generation. When a boy falls down and starts crying, seemingly innocent comments such as, "But you're a strong boy," can actually do more harm than good as these early lessons form mental frameworks in boys that associate emotion and crying with lack of masculinity and self-worth. Finally, it may be time to redefine what it means to be masculine. This does not mean that we abandon the traditionally positive traits of masculinity, but perhaps it's time to expand the scope of these traits into new traits that are meaningfully beneficial for society, such as openly experiencing a wide range of emotions, interdependence, vulnerability, cooperation, and kindness, in order to normalize seeking help and preventive self-care, especially among those who are most vulnerable. I believe that in a world where these traits are promoted, Sega would still be here today. There is a chance he would not have bottled up how he felt, nor would he have felt as hesitant to seek help. It is our responsibility to help men, today's men as well as tomorrow's men, value these traits. And by doing this, I truly believe that we can create a world that believes and says to men, it is okay to not be okay a lot more often.